So hello everyone and welcome to Transformation Tuesday. For those that have come on live, I am so happy to see you here tonight and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. And to anyone who may be watching the recording of this, thank you so much for putting in the time to watch something different and hopefully learn something a little bit different today too. So my name is Talia Robinson and this session is all about something that I have learned the hard way over the last several years, which is that your strongest, healthiest, most confident self starts from the inside, not from the outside. Not from willpower, not from motivation, not from forcing yourself to do workouts when you're exhausted, but from what's actually happening internally, inside your cells, inside your gut, inside your metabolism, inside your recovery, the stuff that very few people actually talk about. Now, I just want to start by saying I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health professional, and I'm not going to pretend to be one. Everything that I'm sharing today is just from my own lived experience and the massive difference that I've seen when my body was working against me versus when it finally started working with me again. So tonight I'm going to share my story and what I've learned about internal health, the products that helped me, and how this all ties into the theme for today, strong starts within. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, get comfortable, and let's get straight into it. So first, I want to rewind back to 2017 and give you a bit of a glimpse into what happened in my life to lead me to where I am right now, because it is all part of one important road that I've been on. So a friend of mine messaged me one day out of the blue and said the worst words that I think anyone probably could have ever said to me, which was, "Hey, do you want to do an 18-kilometer obstacle course with me?" And apparently, because I am easily influenced, I said yes. If you've never heard of or seen Tough Mudder before, it's basically an 18-kilometer obstacle course designed by people who just want to see you suffer. So to paint a bit of a picture, they have you swimming through muddy ice baths that literally take your breath away, and you have to swim under the water to get out the other side. They've got you climbing over giant walls that you have to actually run at and climb up, crawling pits that put mud in places that mud is definitely not meant to go. And my personal favorite was called electroshock therapy, which was a field where they literally make you run through live dangling wires while spraying you with a huge hose. I'm pretty sure that obstacle was actually outlawed not long after my obstacle course. So lucky me, I got to do it. But plus there were so many other obstacles just designed to push your body to your limits. I had about 2 months to somehow build my fitness up so I could just survive this day. For the record, sports are not and never had been my thing. I was the artsy kind of nerdy band person in school. I actually learned every single musical instrument my school had to offer and played in 4 bands throughout school. So this was my first ever glimpse into what the fitness world had to offer. And it was a pretty big one. So I trained, I pushed myself. I ended up attempting every obstacle except one, the giant wall, because I honestly didn't even know how to attempt it. And then I crossed the finish line. I fell off about half the obstacles, but honestly, it was 10 out of 10 for fun, but definitely did make me question my sanity. But at the same time, that race lit something inside me, and I discovered that I did actually love to push my body. I loved seeing what it could do. So naturally, I went all in. I ended up hiring a PT. I started learning how to build muscle properly. And then apparently, because I don't do things halfway, I decided I wanted to compete in bodybuilding. So in early 2019, I started my first comp prep. By September that year, I was on stage and I came 6th. So pretty good. There was about 40 girls in my category, but it wasn't what I wanted because it wasn't first and I'm competitive. So I prepped again in 2020, went through 17 weeks of dieting, training, cardio, and then 3 weeks out, COVID canceled the entire season. So I was naturally devastated. So with all of this, I spent years where fitness was my entire world. I was training 6 days a week. I did roughly 8 hours of cardio every week on top of my 6 workouts, which was 3 boot camps and 5-hour-long stair sessions. If anyone's ever used a stair machine at the gym, they are the worst thing in this world. I swear I've got PTSD now. I don't want to touch one ever again if I can. And in amongst all this, I developed quite a serious energy drink addiction. I was drinking 2 of the carbonated pre-workout energy drinks every single day, whether I trained or I didn't. if I didn't have them, I was asleep on my feet. I could barely function. Um, and so fast forward to 2021, I started dating my now partner, and one day he said to me, Talia, you need to quit the energy drinks because they are literally destroying you from the inside out. So I quit cold turkey. I had horrific withdrawals. I had horrible headaches. It lasted for months. My fatigue was, I felt like I was just walking around in a coma half the time. And I went from training like an athlete to barely functioning. And it was just because I was so burnt out. With everything that happened, with cutting back on the overdoses of caffeine daily, I got so burnt out that I just stopped training completely. And then over the next 2 years, without even noticing, I ended up gaining 20 kilos. And one day I looked in the mirror and I thought, how could I have ever let this happen? Like the body that I had worked so hard for, where's it gone? Because I didn't notice. I should have picked up, I had the knowledge. I'd been there enough times to know what happens when you go from 100% output to very little output. But I was so burnt out and tired and exhausted and fatigued that it had to happen. I couldn't keep it up anymore. So it wasn't that I was lazy or unmotivated or just a failure. My body was just so exhausted that it couldn't function properly anymore. So I couldn't get back into training. I struggled to build the habits back in. For a 27-year-old, I felt old and flat and disconnected from myself. And then in January 2022, I started to use the LifeVantage products. I started with the NRF2, NRF1, and SRT. Later on, I added in Axio and then collagen when that launched as well. Nothing happened overnight for me, but slowly, without me even realizing it, things were starting to change. I had more energy. My mood was better. I started to feel like my age again. And my motivation to train slowly started to return. But it was all because my body wasn't screaming at me 24/7 anymore. And then after all that came the announcement of the Mind Body system launching in the US. And that was the real moment for me that I decided enough's enough. I need to get back in the gym. I need to get healthy again. Now, I'll be honest, I have always been skeptical of all of the weight loss supplements. I truly believed that if you need to lose weight, you just need to stop complaining, get in the gym, and eat the right amount of food. Full stop, end of story. There is nothing more to it. I was wrong. I can happily say that now. So even though I had been super skeptical of the weight loss supplement, especially when LifeVantage brought it out, I was actually devastated at first because I thought, no, I loved the products this company makes, and now they're going down that road. But I had learned to trust that LifeVantage made incredible products and they didn't do things halfway. And I trusted what I'd already experienced with those products. So I decided to give it a chance. And within the first few weeks, my bloating reduced, my weight started to shift, and my body was starting to feel like it was waking up again. And that was the real breakthrough for me. Not so much the weight, but the realization that my body was actually starting to work again. So my mindset changed, my habits started to change, my eating changed, which was honestly the biggest difference because I was a huge chocolate fiend. Half the reason why I gained 20 kilos in just over a year was because of chocolate. And even when I was at my peak fitness and not in comp prep, because when you're in comp prep, chocolate is a definite no-no. But outside of that, I'm not even exaggerating when I say I would eat a kilogram tub of Maltesers to myself every single week, as well as at least 2 of the big chocolate muffins and 2 giant chocolate chip cookies, and then whatever food and alcohol that I wanted when I went out for dinner, which was at least once a week because I also, amongst the gym, I had an active social life with my gym friends. And so that included going out for dinners minimum 1 night a week, drinking a few cocktails, doing all the normal stuff, just having fun. And I would do all of that and I would never gain a single ounce of weight. I would never get bloated. But it's because I was always just dealing with the cravings, that sweet tooth, the desire just for sugar constantly was living in my brain. And within about a week of starting on the mind body system, I almost felt like a new person on the inside because it was the first time where I could actually say I didn't have that little voice in the back of my head every time I finished a meal saying, you need to go and eat something sweet. You need something sweet to finish that. I used to be that person. I would eat chocolate when I wake up in the morning because when your palate is completely neutral, chocolate tastes amazing, like it does every other minute of the day. And it was the first time in my life after about a week where I was actually sitting there going, I don't need it. I don't really want it. I could eat it if I wanted to, but I didn't want it anymore. And that made probably the biggest difference for me because when your brain stops talking against you with something like as simple as your food, it is so much easier to then maintain the right mindset and build in the better habits. So from this point, my training sessions started to become a lot more powerful, and my results started to accelerate. Now I'm down 14 kilograms of the 20 kilograms in the last 12 months. And I'm back in another comp prep to be back on stage again next year. But I am stronger today than I ever was in my peak competitive years before. I can lift nearly double some of the weights that I used to be able to do. I can recover so much quicker. My energy is stable now. I don't, without energy drinks, I am just able to get up and function from morning to night happily without issues. My focus is sharp. And I haven't had to use energy drinks to get me through the days ever since I quit. And that is a huge deal because that really was the biggest issue for me. And the biggest thing that I learned in amongst that time was that you can have the strongest mindset in the world, but if your body isn't functioning well internally, you're just going to be fighting a losing battle. And yeah, so now I want to just take a moment to talk a bit about what was actually happening inside my body and maybe inside yours if you've ever used the products or are thinking about it. Because most people, they only focus on the external actions, which is training more, eating cleaner, or cutting out food groups like carbs, sleeping more at night, drinking more water, or just trying to be more motivated overall. But if your internal systems aren't doing their job, the outside isn't going to change the way you want or as quickly as you want. So here's what I mean. Inside our bodies, our cells deal with stress every single day, from training or overtraining in my case, from lack of sleep, from emotional stress, from our environment, from our age. Protandim NRF2 helps to support the body's natural ability to just handle that stress and then recover more efficiently. So when that internal stress is high, you are likely to feel it as sluggishness, slow recovery, you're going to get sore more easily, or feeling older than you actually are. But when that internal system is supported, your body just feels more resilient. It makes you feel like you can get through the days and tackle anything that might come at you. Energy is another huge one. So NRF1 supports our mitochondria, which are the little powerhouses inside our cells that literally make our energy for our body. But when they don't function properly, that's when we start to feel the super low energy, no matter how much we sleep. I'm not sure. I've known multiple people who now I look back at it and go, I wish I could have helped you back then. But they used to say to me, they sleep for 10 hours at night and they still wake up and they just want to go back to bed. That's not normal. If you get a good 8 hours sleep, you should feel great for the next day and you should be able to tackle the day. But that's mitochondria not functioning properly if you're sleeping and still tired. That feeling of just not being able to get going. Poor endurance, as I'm sure most people know, if you're doing something even as simple as gardening. Gardening seems like it should be a pretty easy task, but it takes a lot out of you. And if you can't, we need to go sometimes and be able to spend hours out in our garden to be able to get it up, especially after if we've had a storm or something's come through. It's hard to get through there if your body's not working properly. You'll go outside and you'll spend 30 minutes and you're going to feel like you've done, you've gone and run a 20-kilometer marathon. But that's not how it's meant to be for our body. And struggling with basic motivation. So by supporting our mitochondrial function, it helps to support these processes, which creates more natural and steady energy from the inside for us. We've also got repairing cellular, actually repairing our cells and making them bringing them more vitality again. So That's using SRT or protein SRT. It supports the processes related to our cellular repair and our healthy aging. So it's kind of like your battery life. A lot of people who start on it when they've never had anything like that before describe it as feeling like they're more switched on or more clear or more resilient to their day. We've got structural health, so collagen. Collagen was one of the biggest ones, and it is something that I will never for a day in my life stop taking, especially while I'm going to the gym, because our collagen is like the scaffolding that holds our body together. Skin, tendons, ligaments, gut lining, joints. And as we age, or when the body is stressed, bloating increases, our physical recovery gets slower, our skin loses elasticity, our joints start to get creaky and angry, and we start to feel older. That's our collagen levels slowly depleting with time. So by supporting them, it helps us from a structural level to support our body to feel better and healthier. So not just if you go to the gym, but just simply as we age, our muscles slowly start to deteriorate. And muscle is the biggest difference between being an able-bodied elderly person and someone stuck in a chair, is the amount of muscle that they have on their body that can still manage to hold them together and help them to function. So supporting our collagen levels to help keep that structural integrity from the inside is so important. And if I had it my way, every person on this planet would be taking a good quality collagen supplement like ours, because it's more vital than most people realize. Next, we've got Axio, the natural energy and mental clarity. Axio is something that another one I'm probably going to use for the rest of my life, because I have so much to thank for Axio. Anyone who's looked into some of the ingredients and stuff in energy drinks, they have got so many horrible things in them. The damage they do to your body to make you feel alive and awake and alert for a while, it's just not worth the payoff. And I used Axio as a way to get over my energy drink addiction and to be able to help me when my body it literally felt like it was failing, because I wasn't giving it the ridiculous amounts of caffeine. Like, it felt like I couldn't wake up during the day. It felt like, how was I supposed to go and work all day if I don't even want to leave my bed? But that was just a caffeine addiction talking. And Axio was what actually helped me to slowly get over that, move into something healthy, and then bring me back the energy that I needed to get through the day feeling good, instead of relying on something that was just doing me more harm than it was worth. And then finally, we've got the mind-body system, which honestly, like gut, digestion, metabolic health, it does so much. Even our muscle, it supports so many different internal processes that all influence our digestion, our bloating, appetite, metabolism, how our body stores and burns energy. When our gut is off, our metabolism is off. And then when your metabolism is sluggish, everything feels harder. So whether you're trying to lose weight, or even if you're just trying to maintain weight, if you can have your gut working properly, your metabolism is going to work and function properly, and you are going to feel so much better, have so much better energy, and be able to deal with everything going on in your days so much better, because the gut it's one of the most important parts of our body. And if it's out, everything else that's affected by it, it's just a long, long list. But that's why for me, mind body was the turning point, was because it finally supported the internal processes that I had neglected for years. Because if you want to lose weight or build muscle or have more energy or look younger or train harder, recover faster, or just feel mentally clearer, your body needs to be working from the inside first. Now, I was lucky I wasn't dealing with some of the other physical conditions that can make losing weight and feeling healthier even harder. I was only dealing with the actual general damage that I had done to my body from my food, from drinking, from overtraining. So I only had to deal with that damage to repair. But if you're someone who's been dealing with any number of conditions, your body needs this support even more. And it will likely even take a little bit longer to feel the difference than I did, because every body is different and every body has different levels of damage that we need to undo. But strong starts within. And once our inside is functioning well, the outside will respond. So I learned the long, painful way that we can't bully our body into transformation. You can't starve it, overtrain it, shame it, punish it, or force it. If the internal systems aren't functioning well, the outside won't change. And if you felt stuck or frustrated or you feel like your body isn't responding, it's not because you're broken or because you're lazy or because you lack motivation. Your body probably just needs support. And it's your job to give it the support that it needs and then to adopt the right mindset that transformation does take time. Damage needs to be undone. And our body needs time to repair because everything we do to it every single day all results in damage. Waking up and breathing, going to the gym does a bit more damage. Thankfully, the good it brings outweighs the damage that it also causes, but it all causes more stress to our body. Everything that we do stresses our body out. And so it's our job to give it the right support and help it to heal and to recover from all of the damage that life just gives it. But when it does repair and undo that damage, our body can do some absolutely incredible things for us. So thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I really hope that my journey has given you some insight or some hope or some direction. If you want to learn more about any of the products or you want to see the studies behind them, because they exist, there are a lot of them, they're available. You can 100% be able to check them out. I have to say, for me, it's never been about what's written on paper. I'm much more of a physical person and I care more about how I feel, how I perform, how I recover, how I look, and how I actually function when I am consistent with taking things to support my body. But if you want to explore the products or figure out what's right for you, reach out to the person who invited you to this call because they will be more than happy to guide you from here. But yeah, so thank you all again for being here on this Transformation Tuesday. And yeah, remember, strong starts within. Thank you guys so much for being here and thank you for listening to my story. Yeah, I hope to see you guys all some point in the future. And I hope that you guys can get a bit of clarity on what might help you feel better, because it is horrible when you don't feel good. It really is. People underestimate how draining it is to be fighting your body from the inside. So when you feel better, you will never regret a second of your life the choices you made to get you there. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys sometime soon.